Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach, and today I'm just going to have a bit of a look at the teams. The teams that of course out last night. I am going to the Richmond-Collingwood game tonight, so hence this video will be without the knowledge of the final Sunday teams, as I've said in other videos. If I'm not going to the game, I will look to get it out around sort of 6 o'clock, 7, with the Sunday teams and everything about that included. But look, I won't have time to do it now at that stage. Obviously leaving early to get to the game on time, so I've still got a bit to discuss, mainly ins and outs news really, because look, the motto of round 2 is don't trade. I mean, if you have to trade, well then look, you might, but I've seen people in the top 4 trades. I mean, it's understandable that Anderson is going out and bringing in blokes like Kennedy, etc., but there's been 3,000 odd people who've traded out Fife. Now, please do, let's be honest. I mean, if you're out there listening and you've traded out Fife, you're just an idiot. It's plain and simple. I mean, you don't pick Fife to score 140 in round 1. You pick him to score an average 110 for the whole season. So there's rookies out there, as I've said throughout the season. There are monkeys. And look, people who make that sort of decision do amaze me. I can't believe there's been a few people trading out Fife just because he had one poor game. But be my guest. It'll only help out my rankings and everyone else out there listening. So, look, going through the teams, Richmond-Collingwood, nothing really huge there. Daniel Rioli out with a leg injury, which he was okay. A few would have had him on the bench. Tackled well, that was about it. But he's obviously pulled up a bit sore. Sidebottom out, Swan out, which has been well documented. Brody Grundy comes back in. Surprising he got left out in that first team. But if anything, those Collingwood outs really mean Jordan De Goey. If you're owner of De Goey, then definitely he could be one player that will definitely benefit from those exclusions and getting extra midfield time. I must say, as far as a captain choice, I won't focus too much on captaincy, but because it's obvious with the likes of Ablett really jumping off the page. But if you're into the loophole, Pendlebury is a lock and load as far as I'm concerned. I think he will dominate. He's a proud player and one of the best players in the competition. He was poor last week by his own standards, you have to say, and the team was deplorable. So we expect a lift from Collingwood and a real bouncing back from a team perspective, but I really think leading the way will be Scott Pendlebury. So definitely look out for him, maybe place a VC with him. Adelaide and Port, nothing that notable. Schultz is out, which sees Dougal Howard come in, and he'll likely play forward, but some of his best footy was in the ruck through the NAB Challenge, which is interesting. So Lobe, whether they shared it all or not, that'll be something to monitor. Essendon and Melbourne, there's a few changes there that, as will probably often be the case with the Bombers, that grabbed our attention. Here's the outs for Essendon. McKernan, not that much interest individually, but for Leuenberger owners, that is great. It shows that they've got faith in Leuenberger and he will be taking that absolute number 1 mantle. Craig Bird and Simpkin out. The interest dropped off on Craig Bird, I must say, as NAB Challenge wore on, but Simpkin was still interested. I think he was owned in about 14 or 15% of sides, so him being dropped is extremely concerning, and you'd almost be thinking about trading him. You'd keep him around for a week or so, but the fact he's not even in their best 22 when he wasn't poor last week is very interesting. Michael Hartley and Nick Comer come into the sides. Potential back option, potential forward option. Why couldn't they just named him round 1? I mean, come on. It kills you, doesn't it? I know I mentioned last week, thinking about Comer, if you're not sold on some of those other guys. Hopefully everyone's stuck to Papley, the man who was playing. But Comer and Hartley, I think, will be worthwhile inclusions to our side at some point. Whether we can really generate cash or have a player who's injured. I mean, I know I've got Oscar McDonald where I might trade him down to Hartley in a couple of weeks, depending, but keep trades, they're golden. That must be said. As I say, Oscar McDonald out, not overly popular, but I do have him. Jed Anderson is out. Of course, Kane Turner comes in for him. Who comes in for your side? I think the likes of a Daniel Wells, if you didn't already have him, has to be considered, but Ben Kennedy will probably be the real popular one for sure, maybe even Papley if you didn't have him. So a couple of guys there. As far as team news goes, Cade Kolajasny returns. A lot would have either jumped off him when he was out or even missing those NAB Challenge games. A lot would have lost faith in him. So But if you have kept him round or was unlucky enough that you couldn't switch him out when he was a late withdrawal last week, he is back in, and let's hope that he's fit and firing, because he was ill, apparently, in inverted commas there, but hopefully he's over that and ready to go. Matt Rosa took Miller out. I don't think they're super popular players, but they'll be in an odd team here and there, and not wise picks. Miller was a bit risky, but a decent player. Rosa, I definitely think, is a good selection and was good last week. He's out with what they've said is a calf, so that's very disappointing if you've got him. So potentially calves can be, generally they're 3 or 4, and they say it's the old man's injury. Rosa is an elderly sort of fella in far as AFL terms go, so let's hope it's not that significant. But at this stage, concerning, and one of those frustrating injuries that teams can cop early in the season. It really hurts our SuperCoach. As far as other games, again, I don't have privy to being the Sunday teams, which is a bit annoying, but I'm looking forward to the Richmond-Collingwood game, so that's out of my hands. But I will say this: Toby Green, Jack Steele, more so the former. Toby Green still in a lot of teams. He was disgraceful last week, and he must be on the outer. I know I read a couple of things during the week saying he was training with the NEFL group, and he has been named on the extended bench. For what it's worth, the bench is Buntine, who I think is definitely in their best team. Steele, same was said about Green. Josh Kelly, he will be picked. Toby Green, Jonathan Patton, you'd have to say he's going to be picked. I mean, they don't have Jeremy Cameron. I would be locking in Patton. Zach Williams has to be around the mark. Tomlinson, I don't think will be picked. So I'm locking in Patton and Kelly and Buntine. I definitely think Steele or Green will be dropped as that midfield spot. Also not going in his favour is the fact that Caniglio has come in, who was an emergency last week, and of course, as we know, the former number 1 pick is a prime mover through the midfield, which Green was hoping to be. Played a little half forward, but did attend 20 odd centre bounces as well. Still couldn't score well. So look, you've got to be concerned with him, if not for his scoring, but more so for his job security. So definitely concerns to be raised there. But as far as the team news, that's about all I've got for you. Down the track, I think obviously round 1 is all about, and round 2 coming up is all about holding your trades. Unless you must trade, unless someone's copped a long-term injury, then keep the faith. That's why you do all the research. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You don't do months of research to trade a bloke out off 1 week's score. If they're a premium, stick with them for a lengthy period of time unless you're seeing a positional change or a niggle. And if they're a spectacle pick, as far as, say, I don't know, a Leuenberger, a Wells, something like that, well, you might hang around with them for 3 weeks maybe, just see how they go, but give them time. Certainly don't trade out blokes after 1 week, because you'll be wishing you had that trade back in round 18, round 19 sort of thing. So keep the faith, hold your trades for now unless you have to. Not a great deal of news coming out on the team sheet, but as I say, down the track I will be looking into potential trade options depending how busy the week is. I might make 2 videos, a bit of a crystal ball on players you might look out for. But that's a bit of a wrap of the teams. All the best for your weekends, SuperCoach scoring wise, and I'll see you guys for the press conference on Monday.